Welcome. Yeah. P. Presley Palace.
What's up to all the people? It's Presley Prince. I know if you didn't know. So, I was supposed to be born on July 15th, but I was already stressing the mom out already, you know what I'm saying, before I'm even born, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't come out. I'm just chilling. I'm like, yo, I'm not ready right now. I'm chilling in the womb, I'm getting free food, you know what I'm saying? Chilling. I'm listening to conversations, you know what I'm saying? I'm hitting the stomach, you know what I'm saying, to make sure I'm in this bitch, you know what I'm saying? Nah, let me not say it like that. I'm sorry. But, born July 15th was supposed to when I came out the womb. I'm not like, mom's not going into labor. So the doctor said, you know what, we're going to book an appointment, in the future for July 29th instead of July 15th coming out. July 29th, he's coming out. So we're going to do a forced labor. I'm saying we're going to break her water and we're going to do a forced labor. And he's coming out he's seeing the world. You feel me? So I was born at Mississauga Hospital. You feel me? Place in the 6th.
Oh, hey, I was raised is to be a sharp.
I'm born. Mom and dad gotta figure out a name. You feel me? They never figured out the name yet before I was even born. You know what I'm saying? They had all that time. They had 9 flipping months and still no name for a little guy like me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm born. They start getting into an argument, a debate argument about what my name should be. You know what I'm saying? So my dad said he wants to name me Prince Jr. because his first name is Prince. So he wanted my first name to be Prince Jr., right? But my mom said, nah, my mom wasn't having it. She's like, no, Presley needs his own name. You feel me? So my mom said, you know what? Let's name him Presley because your name starts with P. And also because, Presley's a good name and Presley was one of my mom's, still one of my mom's favorite artists, Elvis Presley. So she said this is going to be the perfect name for him. He's going to grow into his own and stuff, but he needs to have his own name. You know what I'm saying? So my dad, they're going back and forth. My dad eventually kind of like, I guess caves in and says, you know what, fine, we'll name him what you said. We'll name him Presley. What?
This I can't be to stand tall in.
And, my dad pretended and said, you know what, fine, you can have it your way. Let's name him Presley. Right? But he still had doubts in his head about it. You feel me? He wasn't all on board yet. You know what I'm saying? It was bothering him. In the back of his mind, it's bothering him because, he comes from Ghana. He comes from Africa. So in Ghana, like, it's the father who really has most of the say when it comes to his kid's name. You know what I mean? So we had a sense of pride that he didn't get to name the name that he wanted to name me as his son, as his first son. You know what I'm saying? So, he had mixed feelings about it. Deep down he wasn't feeling it. You know what I'm saying? And he's making my mom believe that he does agree with it. You know what I mean? That he's going along with it. It's like, you know what, you can have your way. I agree with you. So, but it was eating out. It wasn't sitting right with him. He had a game plan now. Now he's thinking, this is not the way I want my son to be named. This is not the pride of Africa I want. This is my first child. You know what I'm saying? So the doctor, right? So again, my mom thinks he agrees, right? So the doctor hands him the birth certificate to sign off on the name being Presley Ado, right? So the doctor gives him the birth certificate to sign, and guess what he does? Guess what my dad Prince does, right? He secretly puts my name, Prince Jr., in my middle name. So he didn't put in the first name, but he still needed to have that for him that father effect. So he put Prince Junior as my middle name. And my mom didn't know about it until she probably until she gets it in the mail, confirmation of the name and a copy of the birth certificate later down the line. So it's already too late. He writes it and he signs off on it, and she thinks like, okay, it's Presley. As she didn't know that the middle name was put Prince Junior. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to tell her. He secretly didn't want to tell her because he didn't want to have another argument about it. So he said, you know what, like, this is not sitting right with me, like I'm saying, and we're gonna put this. I gotta put that in there, my own influence in there, Prince Junior. Now, in Ghanaian culture, it's normal for the men to kind of drink. Like in Ghana, they have like sort of like a drinking problem where they love to drink. But my dad's philosophy is he might, before he goes to work, he might just take a shot, one or two shots of some liquor just to get the edge off. Like he's not tipsy, he's not drunk, but just to kind of get the edge off and just try to, start the day and like try to get through the day. All right, so now my dad gets out the elevator. So he's coming back home, and he goes up the elevator, and he gets out of the elevator, and then he hears someone crying from down the hall. Right, so he's hearing someone crying, like a baby crying. So he eventually figures out, and he's like in his mind, and he's like, "Oh, that's my daughter. Why is my daughter crying? Why am I hearing her cry so loudly, from the apartment hallway?" So he charges. He quickly, runs to the, to the door, opens the door, sees that my sister is crying, right, like hysterically, as a baby, of course, and he sees that my mother is on the phone, just talking to somebody on the phone, without realizing that my baby sister is crying. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so he gets kind of worried about that. You know what I'm saying? He's very upset. He's very worried. When he enters into the house, like I said, he sees my sister crying, and he gets so upset. They're arguing back and forth. He's saying, "Why are you on the phone while my baby girl is crying? Like, you're not paying attention to her." All that. She's like, this and that. They're going back and forth, and then he gets so upset. He's so aggressive with her that he throws the newfound TV they bought on the floor. So he throws the TV on the floor aggressively. So as a woman, she's very afraid, right? Because just doing so much aggression in her face, just like being so aggressive to not hitting her. He wasn't even drunk enough to wanna. He wasn't drunk, and he didn't hit her. You feel me? But as a woman, I would understand. It's very intimidating if a man is that aggressive. And they just bought the TV, bro. They just bought the TV. Life is blessed. They're together. They're moving in. We got the kids. You know what I'm saying? My sister is 1 year old. You know what I'm saying? So, boom. That night was what kind of like ended the relationship. Just that one. Like, my pops told me like they never ever really fought with each other. This is the first fight they ever had. You know what I'm saying? Before this, it was blessed. So he throws it on the floor. He's very upset. So again, my mother's afraid. So she ends up calling the police. She calls the police. The police pull up. The police say, "Okay, you guys are both upset. Somebody needs to leave the house for the night, just so you all can cool off." Right? Again, he's not drunk, so he's not acting out of any type of intoxication. So it's his house, but he says, "You know what? I'll leave. I'll be the one to leave because I have a place I can go stay for the night and just cool off, and I'll come back tomorrow." You know what I'm saying? So, the police said, "Okay, that's cool, right?" So he goes downstairs, right? He's going downstairs. He goes outside, and then something told him to kind of turn around. A feeling made him turn around, and he sees me looking at him through the window, like, "Oh my God, where's my dad going?" As a 2-year-old, it's Presley. When Presley's 2, I was like 2. He's like, he's probably thinking it's like window pane. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like he's looking at like he's like I'm seeing all the aggression in the house. Like why is my mom and my dad fighting? You know, they never fought. This is like the first time they had. This is their first real big fight. So the whole time I never experienced this energy in the crib in the palace. I never experienced this energy in the palace. So he sees that I'm kind of worried. He sees the anxious, scared look on my face, like, oh man, I think I fucked my kid up because he's seeing me leave the house and my mother's upset and I'm upset. So boom. Then he turns around, he continues on, then he walks to his car. He notices that he doesn't have his keys. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, fuck, the keys are at the crib. And he remembers in his mind exactly where the keys are. It was on the kitchen table. So he's like, fuck, I gotta go back and grab the keys so I can leave. So he goes back to grab the keys, and the police are still there, and the police ended up arresting him because he already agreed with the police he was gonna leave. He just forgot his keys. But to the police, you know what I'm saying, there was no excuse. That's bad police work. Because if he tells you I forgot the keys, he forgot the key, right? So the police just end up just arresting him. So because of that day, because he got arrested, is what really ended the relationship. You know what I'm saying? It was hard to piece it back together.
Yeah, we ain't never stopping. Why would we? Together.
Now my mom and dad, they're fighting for custody of me and my sister. My dad is saying, you know, that she's not a good mother, so a social worker had to come to the house at like early in the morning, like 6 a.m. And then the social worker came with her clipboard, you know, making notes and just to see if my mom's a good mother. And the social worker seemed she was amazing, the best mother in the whole universe, that she's waking up early, cooking for me and my sister, you know, feeding us our breakfast, you know, taking us to school. No, not to school yet, but you know, where she's feeding us, she's playing with us, she's making sure we're entertained, we're watching shows, we're enjoying ourselves. The social worker sees this is a great mother, there's no problem. Then as they're fighting for custody of me and my sister, the judge sees because of that night he got arrested, now he has a criminal record. So the judge sees that he has a criminal record, you know, while they're getting custody. So the judge says that because of his criminal record, he's gonna need to have a social worker, you know what I'm saying, that watches me and my sister while he comes to play with us and visit us. So whenever he wanted to come over, or whenever you want to come over to the house, or I don't think it was the house, I believe it was another office. Like he had to come to a different building. My mom would bring, you know, me and my sister to that building, and then my dad can for like 2 hours max play with me and my sister, but he can only do it with a social worker present to make sure we're safe because again he has a criminal record. Even though it's not a serious record, he has a criminal record of just, you know, coming to the house, I guess whatever that charge was, I'm not sure, disturbing the peace or something. So because for his pride in a sense, that he kind of told me it was like his pride, you know what I mean? He just didn't like that in order for him to, you know, be with his kids, he needed somebody else to be with them in the room while he's playing with us. He's on the floor with us building our Legos, and there's a social worker making notes, you know, monitoring, supervising us, making sure that my dad isn't being a bad father regardless of having a criminal record or whatever. Like he needs to be watched. So because of that, it hurt him, his pride. So that's why he left the family, because he's like, I can't even be with my kids and while someone else is watching. It just doesn't sit well with me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he left the family for some years, just because of that. I'm saying he's angry, he has the record, he's angry he can't hang out with his kids or the way he wants to, and it's an L. You know what I'm saying? It's an L. So that's how it went down. You know what I'm saying? That's how it went down. Me and my sister are young. Me and my sister can't even remember this. I remember I told you about the window pane thing and how I was looking out the window. Like when he told me that, how like I was a little kid and they got into that argument, and then he leaves the house and I'm watching my dad leave the house, you know, concerned, like why is everyone so upset? He's saying that, you know, that like when he told me that, I told him later in life, I told him I kind of remember that. Even though I was 2, 3 years old, I kind of remember that little, not vividly, Not clearly, but hey, it probably is possible. But that's why he left the family, because he didn't want to have to deal with all that supervision stuff.
P. Palace. Oh, at the show and the people.
So Pops left the family. I didn't even remember it. I was too young when it happened. And then this is when the story gets a little bit interesting as well. So now I'm in grade 1. I'm at least 6 or 7. And my elementary school teacher told, us to make a Father's Day card, right? So when I talked to her one-on-one, she's like, "Oh, Presley, you have to make a Father's Day card, all right?" And I said, at that moment I didn't understand what a father was, but I was like, "Oh, I don't have a father." Then she was like, "Oh, okay, well then just make one for your uncle who's a father figure in your life." And I said, "Okay." I made a Father's Day card for my uncle as if he's my father. I made it for my uncle, rest in peace, Uncle Jolly. And I didn't understand the concept of what a father was. It's weird. Like I didn't know what that was because my father left me when I was at 2, and now I'm like 6 years old. So although that whole span of years of him not being around, all I had was my mother. My mother was my superhero, my only superhero. So all I knew is my mom takes care of me. She makes sure that me and my sister and the whole family is good. But I didn't understand the father aspect because my mom would, bring my uncles around. Like I never had a feeling in my life of being neglected, of not having a father, because my mother made sure that her brothers, that my uncles, or not even just brothers, I used to have another uncle that used to pick us up. His name was Uncle Abos. He used to pick me and my sister up, and we used to drive around town, get ice cream, go to Dairy Queen, get ice cream, and just spend the day with him as if I had my father with me, right? So I didn't understand. So it's not like I always had a male presence in my life, especially my Uncle Jolly, especially my Uncle Patrick. I always had uncles in my life that were like father figures to me, but I never called them my fathers. I called them uncles, but I never knew what it meant not to have a male figure present. Or because of that, it was almost like an ointment to the wound if it happened. Where like now I have men around me that I consider as father figures. Where like if I ever get in trouble to school, they're one of the numbers that the school has in the system to call if I ever get hurt or anything ever happens to me at school. So I had to build one Father's Day card for my dad, so I never knew it what a father was till one day.
Off the seats, standing tall.
Now it came to that day, right? I didn't understand what a father was, so boom. My mother one day says to me and my sister, she's like, "There's a man downstairs to see you." Me and my sister are like, "Okay. Who is he?" Right? Mother says, "When you get there, you'll see, but he's your father." And me and my sister at 6 and 7 are like, "Father? Alright." We don't know. We don't really understand. Like for me personally, I didn't really understand what a father was as a dynamic in life because my uncles were always around me, so I never felt like I was missing something. You know what I mean? Which is good. My mom did an amazing job with me and my sister, especially growing up, having that mentality, right? So we never had a victim mentality. We never felt because to not have a kid at not have a father at such a young age is gonna fuck any kid up if he's aware of it. You know what I mean? I know it's the truth, but he doesn't have the best track record. He wasn't the best father. So, my mom just made sure, I have to make sure my kids are pure hearted, loving, kind, and they don't feel any type of at that age, any type of burden on themselves. You feel me? So she's like, "There's a man downstairs to see you." So me and my sister go downstairs, right? We lived in an apartment building. So we go downstairs, head outside, and we look down the street at the guy that was supposed to see us. We see a man with one gold tooth. Right, saying? With one gold tooth and like a ghetto kind of car. You know what I'm saying? It was a van, but it's not a van. It was a car, but it was like a long car or whatever, and it was ghetto. You know what I mean? It was a really ghetto vehicle, and we see this guy, and so boom, my mom's like, "That's your father." So we ended up, driving the car. Even while we're driving, and he begins talking, telling us things like, "Oh, I'm your father." I believe that's what he was saying. Like we're driving and driving, and like it still didn't hit me that okay, there's a father in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't hit me yet. I'm like, father. So we go to his house and then we're playing games and we're playing the Nintendo 64 and he's making us play his favorite, movie he's ever played called watched. There's a game for it called James Bond. So we're playing the Nintendo 64 and then within a couple hours talking to him, playing the game, and then I understood and I was like, I have a father. You know what I'm saying? I was like, it just hit me. I wasn't happy, like, oh, I got a father. Yeah, I always wanted one. No, it wasn't like, oh, I always wanted a father. No, it was more like, oh, I got another kind of thing in my life. I have a father. Okay, that's all right. That peace is there. You know what I'm saying? So that's when we realized it. That's when I realized what it was. You know what I'm saying? So the life of Presley. That's how it begins. You know what I'm saying? So there's gonna be another episode. You know what I'm saying? You could say another documentary. You could say of the life of Presley. This one is called the Made in Toronto intro. How it all began as a little baby up until I was, becoming more of a kid. Like once I get to like 7, the next one's gonna be called Made in Toronto Child. Separate that hood, so it's not together childhood, which it is because the next episode's about my childhood and the things I went through, right? Things I'm going through more deeply. At first, it starts off when I'm like a little baby and I'm growing up and I'm still a little innocent kid to the max. I'm really in the beginning stages of childhood. Now it's about childhood of me being in the hood as a kid and childhood, and I was a child in the hood. You know what I'm saying? During my childhood, you know what I mean? So that's going to be the next one. And then the next one is going to be called something else. So make sure you tune in to the new one that's to this one. Tune into the next one coming out with some music behind it. And then you're going to get the final installment of Being in Toronto. And I'm going to surprise you with the next one as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's a local thing for the fans. You hear all these beats. Make sure you guys go stream my project. It's called Made in Toronto Intro. It's on all music streaming platforms. Check out the music I'm using behind this video. It's part of the album, and we did it. We making movies, we making shows, we making films, we making documentaries. You know what I'm saying? Just a short little story. You know what I'm saying? It always ends off as a blessing. You know what I'm saying? It always ends off with a story to tell. That's inspirational. The blessing. I think the story always ends with a blessing. You never truly lose in this life. You know what I'm saying? Thanks to God. It always ends off with a blessing. Regardless of anything you're going on in your life. Things you started off with as a kid. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it always ends off with a blessing. Thank God. P. Presley. Prince. Signing off.
On repeat for the team. Presley, slaughter everything. Had the show, you gon' see. Presley. Who his, he